talking about the subject of writing about people whose stories we've known. You've written about Indira Gandhi and you've written about Heer Ranjha. So we'll begin with you, Manjul, first. That how did the reimagination come about of a story that has been adapted into films, stage?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think the story of Heer Ranjha has been written over 100 times in different languages, in Urdu and Punjabi and Sindhi, um, and there have been films right since 1928. Every decade or so, somebody's version of Heer Ranjha is being done, and there's a Pakistani serial called Ranjha Ranjha Kardi. So in this situation, why are you telling the story again is a question you might ask me. And it's really, these are archetypes. These are stories we tell ourselves again and again because they mean so much. At one level, the characters play out all of our dramas. That's why we go back to them. And I felt I had something to offer the English reading audience, the audience with a different, more modern sensibility. It's not the old black and white film kind of sensibility. It's people who think like you and me, but who are caught again in the same dramas of love and separation and a society which is oppressive to love. So that's where I'm coming from. I believe I have a story to tell, and I believe that the Heer Ranjha story was the right vehicle for it.
I think I was sort of an accidental biographer. You know, as a novelist, I had never really thought of writing a biography, and that too of somebody like Indira Gandhi. I was not, for example, a political journalist. However, 2017 was the centenary year of Mrs. Gandhi's birth. And that's when Kartika, my publisher, she thought that we needed a graphic biography, you know, like a graphic novel, like something like Persepolis, for the younger readership, younger people for whom today, I think video or image has become a currency that they understand better than words, you know, rather than those large tomes of biographies. However, it was also a time when other biographies were being written, right? So Sagarika Ghosh wrote hers and Jairam Ramesh wrote his. So that was a second challenge. One is that we had to provide a context to young people to understand Indira Gandhi, everything about her, including things like the emergency. And at the same time, we had to say something new, right? Because a biography essentially must add to the existing body of knowledge that is there. And Indira Gandhi is somebody who's been who's inspired many biographies, right? Even more than Nehru has. So it was a big challenge. I think for me, the great thing was that because as a novelist, when I was looking at her story, the Greys fascinated me, right? And that provided an interesting angle, along with the fact that I was collaborating with an artist to create it in a visual medium, right? So Priya and I, as I keep saying that, you know, our match, it was an arranged marriage. And the artist and the writer illustrator marriage can often go horribly wrong, and often fights happen. But we were able to work together to create a new language to tell the story, right? So I would do months of research maybe to write one chapter. And then I'd send her a really long and a really detailed chapter, which then she would subsequently turn into images and panels, and all the words would fall away, right? And I'd see that, how superfluous words are when all the details have been built into the image, into the panels. So that was a great learning experience for me. And towards the end of the book, I think Priya and I were collaborating better. So I was sometimes suggesting images, and she was sometimes suggesting dialogues. So it was really fascinating. It was immense amount of research, but I think the trick in a biography is that sometimes what happens is, for example, I felt this with, say, the Steve Jobs biography that William Isaacson wrote, Walter Isaacson. It's a really fat tome of a book. And I think what happens is if there is a great deal of information, then the person pixelates, you know, then you're not able to see the person. It's too much information. So I think the trick was to get it just right so that one could hear Mrs. G, in the way she spoke.